It's just a lot of pressure to have that many eyes on you. I never planned for it to actually turn into anything. It took away from the true joy of cooking that I fell in love with at the beginning. My name is Sydney. I'm 26 years old and I used to run a popular food Instagram account called Science of Foods for 4 years. The thing I liked the most about cooking was that it was a creative outlet for me. I'd always been a super creative person. I felt that cooking was this new outlet that allowed me to be creative, but I was also really passionate about food. I started posting on Instagram when I really got into cooking, which was during COVID, and I found that I was sending photos of my food to my family and friends, and I was like, why don't I just post this on Instagram? Science of Foods was really, the name really comes from the fact that I was studying food science in school and I was really passionate about like everything to do with food and nutrition, and it was marrying this like culinary and science together, and it was just kind of a funny name that they came up with, and it really stuck with people apparently. I never planned for it to actually turn into anything, and then I started getting reached out to by different brands, really popular, cooking brands in the space like Le Creuset, some fashion brands even that I really loved were reaching out to me and asking me to wear their clothes while I was cooking. I decided to really dedicate more time to my Instagram when I started to earn a considerable income from it. I felt like, okay, maybe I could actually make this a job and I could actually be an entrepreneur. So to have over 50,000 followers was a huge, unfathomable audience. I never thought that many people would be interested in the food that I was posting, and I think that's when the more followers I got, the harder it was for me to do this, because I felt like everything had to be increasingly more and more perfect, and I felt like now I was on this stage and I had all of these people I had to impress and I had to show up for every day, and I think that it's just a lot of pressure to have that many eyes on you, and I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so I think it made me feel like I had to be even more perfect because more people were watching. Even just people referring to me as an influencer, like it just felt like my identity was starting to be really tied to the work that I was doing. I felt like doing this was getting in the way of other aspects of my life because I wanted everything to be so perfect that I had to have the perfect produce and I had to have the perfect lighting and everything had to be lined up perfectly, and if something wasn't perfect, I didn't want to post it. I would get really frustrated if things were perfect, and then I would be emotional or lash out on people that I loved, or I have to go across the city to go to this specific grocery store to find edible flowers, and both photos and videos, it would take upwards of like 3 to 4 hours for one post, for example, and sometimes I would do that entire process just to not like how it turned out, and then I would not even use it. I think that when I started to film things that I just thought my audience wanted to see, as opposed to what I actually enjoyed eating and cooking and food styling, that's when I started to realize that I was not really doing this for myself anymore. I was doing it very performatively, and I felt like the amount of stress and the pursuit of having everything be perfect really took away from the true joy of cooking that I fell in love with at the beginning where it was really just me in the kitchen with music on, just taking my time, and if there wasn't perfect lighting outside, I wouldn't be upset, or if things didn't look a certain way, I wouldn't be upset as long as it tasted amazing. When I finished my master's and it was time for me to kind of figure out what I wanted to do with my career, and the thought of doing this every single day made me feel sick. I couldn't fathom the idea of being this stressed every day, and it just felt like I either need to go full in on this and actually turn it into a full business, or I can pursue a more traditional career. And I think that maybe I just wasn't cut out to being my own boss. It felt kind of lonely sometimes, and I felt very isolated. It was really scary to give it up. I've never made a decision in my life that felt so right after I did it. Like, I felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. My relationship with food right now is definitely recovering. I don't think it's come fully back because I was, so under so much pressure before, and it definitely altered the way that I looked at food and cooking and that entire creative process. But the more that I've detached myself, it's been over a year now since I have posted on that account, and I feel like it's starting to come back more. I save the things that feel creative and feel free-flowing for my free time now, and they're kind of reserved just for me. I think the biggest thing that I miss about having the account is the community. I've met so many friends through the platform. One of them is still my best friend today, so I don't regret it whatsoever. There's zero regret from this entire experience. I learned so much, and advice I would give my younger self is to honestly do everything the same way that it played out. I'm really happy that I had this experience, and that's also just a concept of life, is that life has chapters, and that was a chapter of my life, and now it's not, and yeah.